Welcome to the Vocal Lab podcast with your hosts Shelby Rollins and Jason Catron, bringing you the best from the music industry. Get ready for first-class conversations packed with exclusive techniques and transformative insights, all designed to help you reach your top note.
I was surprisingly entertained by that movie. It's not really my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Speaking of cup of teas, you have one.
I do.
I do too. Oh, we should start by reading our
Let us begin.
Traditional medicinals teas sponsor the podcast. I'll say it again.
Please.
Traditionals medicinals tea.
Do y'all have any loose leaf tea? I wonder. I'd like
Probably.
to know. What does yours say?
Mine says
A little quote on the tea bag. If
Yeah.
y'all are wondering.
how strange that nature does not knock and yet does not intrude. Emily Dickinson.
Does not knock and yet does not intrude.
I don't really understand that fully.
I don't either. But these I often don't understand.
Yeah, I know. I guess I take away from this, like, the world is nature's and we're just part of it. We're actually intruding and knocking on its door.
Probably.
Yeah.
With our houses and our domestication.
Yep.
Okay, mine says, what a desolate place would be a world without a flower.
Well, that's true. I like that.
Clara Lucas Balfour.
She gets quoted a lot. I don't know who she was, but
She does?
yeah, I've seen
What
her.
kind of tea are you drinking?
I have throat coat.
Not my favorite. Glad you like it though.
Yeah.
I don't like the way it coats my throat. It does what it says it's
Yeah,
going to
well,
do.
That's
So no hate for it. We're like, sponsor us. I'm like, I don't like that tea.
no, yeah.
But I love a lot of their other ones, and I have
Well,
3
throat coat.
different varieties at my house right now.
Throat coat's definitely known as the singer's tea, and
Right.
so
It makes me feel kind of numb and weird.
yeah, me too. I like it for the I like the way it tastes, but I honestly, between you and me and the millions of people listening today,
Millions.
I don't drink it before I perform because it puts a little coat on my throat. That
A
can
little
feel
flimmy.
kind of flimmy.
Yes,
But I know
this
singers who
one
love it and
is
swear by it.
Turmeric ginger, and then I actually
That's a good
added
one.
turmeric to it. And
Do you
then
say turmeric or turmeric?
turmeric.
I know I heard you say it twice.
Or turmeric.
Turmeric. It really is spelled turmeric.
Yeah, so I've heard
T-U-R.
people say turmeric. I would have loved it if you had said turmeric and you had just said turmeric twice. That would have been funny.
Well, you
should have
said
thrown me for a loop.
you more just changed the emphasis. You were like turmeric or turmeric.
Yeah, but that's two different ways
You
to
want to know
say
what
it.
it is in Spanish?
Anyway, what?
Curcuma.
Curcuma.
Oh yeah, because I think the one of the other words for it, maybe in the more like chemical language, is curcumin,
Yeah.
something like that. Curcumin. Anyway, so I added turmeric, like a liquid extract, into it because I love that stuff. But one of my other favorites is their Breathe Easy tea, which
I
is
like Breathe
eucalyptus
Easy.
mint. That's probably my number one.
Yeah.
But
Who
yeah.
has smooth moves? That's a good one too.
Oh yes, smooth mint.
Don't
What does
take
that
that
make
one
you do?
before a show.
Don't take that before you go on stage.
Or do.
Or
sure.
do. Hey, you know what? Speaking of the doo-doos, I'm really glad that that's not my trigger when I perform. You know, a lot of people get the runs and they get like
Wasn't it
bowel
Barbara
issues.
Streisand who would like puke before
Yeah,
going
she's a
on stage?
puker. I didn't do that either. As a kid, I went through a little phase where I puked a little bit, but because I would get really nervous. But then I got over that, thankfully. But no, I've always felt bad. I have a friend who he has to go to the bathroom at least 2 or 3 times before he performs. Always,
Ooh.
he'll carry a little, like he'll get matches from the hotel or whatever to clear out the
smell.
smell of the green room or whatever. But that was always bad because I don't know if you know this, Carlos does, but you know, I'm like gag reflux offended by the smell of a match, the sulfur.
Makes you throw up?
It makes me
Or
gag, and I have puked before from the gag.
I actually like the smell of that. Oh my God.
I will be, I would gag instantly.
I used to, as a kid, like the smell of gasoline.
I still like the
now
smell of
that makes me
gasoline.
want to throw up.
I know I still like jet fuel, boat fuel.
Yeah,
you know.
no, I don't. It makes me
Yeah.
want to get. It makes me get nauseous now. But I used to like it.
So
and
you
I was like,
sniffed
that seems weird.
gasoline as a kid. Well, Shelby.
Well,
Yeah, this has been fun.
You sniff gasoline as an adult.
Yeah, I sure
so.
do. Not so much gasoline. It's jet fuel and boat fuel. When they mix it with the oils or the oil, you know, there's something about that. The after smell I like. And that's what I was going to say. Post-strike match, I love that smell. But at the strike,
Oh, when it strikes, not when it's blown out?
yeah, no, the blown out, I like that little woodsy.
That's what I was talking about, the blown out
the
smell.
sulfur, intense, immediate sulfur.
It is a strong scent. I've never really been bothered by it. I don't think I like it or dislike it. I am neutral about that.
Do you have
smell.
anything that makes you gag? Like when you taste it or smell it?
Okay, I have 3 children, and their kids are gross. Just in case you're thinking about having kids, just know that they're nasty, and I love them.
They carry germs.
Yeah, they're just kind of gross.
Yeah, they
and
are
recently, I don't feel like I should really tell this story because I feel like it outs one of my children in a way that I don't want to out them. But I struck off something on my parenting bingo card I was not expecting to do, and it revolved around the area of poop. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. I'll tell you more off camera if you're really curious. But that makes me want to gag.
Poop?
Just being that up close and personal to the bowel movements of another human being is just, I mean, it's gross.
So to that point, be nice and thankful for your attendance in hospitals and nursing homes.
And your mother.
And your mother. Because you're right. That is
You just had to do unspeakable things for your health.
Those are acts of love.
Unspeakable.
Those are acts of love.
Unspeakable.
I wonder if there's a podcast on poop. I bet there is.
I'm sure. Well, you looked up if there was one about naked people, and there was. You looked up that fun fact.
Yeah.
So there probably is.
There's probably a podcast on everything at this point.
Well, let's get to our topic at hand. That's way
I thought
more.
poop was our topic today.
Well, maybe because it's what are the poopiest things that you've heard about singing?
Oh. I like how you did that.
It would be the word I would substitute for like bad advice.
Bad singing
Bad
advice.
singing advice. Yes. Would you like to tell me one of your favorite bad singing pieces of advice that you've been given in your day and age, and why it was bad? Hit me.
Well, a story I share often that when I was a child, my first vocal coach would pull my hair to have me sing higher. So she would take my hair and pull it, right?
That's so bad.
That wasn't really advice. That was forced upon me. But
but it would probably make you go home and pull on your own hair.
Yeah. And I love Sister Barbara to this day. But
Sister Barbara.
Yeah, that was some unnecessary vocal advice that she gave me.
Yeah.
But I have to say, and she'd poke me in the stomach to get me to support her.
She got that from Whoopi.
Yeah. Well, I think she's older than Whoopi. I think Whoopi got it from the nuns, and she's a nun. And
well, but I mean, maybe
she
watched Sister Act.
It's passed down through nundom.
And was like, that's a great idea.
That could be true. But my guess it's passed through nundom.
Nundom.
Is that what it's called?
I have no idea.
Get thee to a nunnery. What's that from?
Shakespeare.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah. Well, I was a theater major. So.
Oh, hey. Yeah, that was one. She would poke my belly to support, and she would, of course, ruler slap my fingers trying to play guitar if I didn't do it right.
Oh.
So maybe the overriding is negative reinforcement, I think, is bad advice.
My brother had a piano teacher when he was a kid. I did not take piano lessons from this lady because probably his horror stories terrified me, and I informed my parents there's just absolutely no way I'm going to go and see her. She was a very tiny little old lady who, when he would make a mistake playing the piano, she would say in her like strange little old lady voice, "Shall I kill you now or later?"
Oh gosh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I would be horrified.
The options, shall I kill you now or later?
He wasn't scarred?
I think he probably was. He'd probably say, I'm fine. But I don't know, Ross. What do you think? Are you still struggling with that one a little bit somewhere under the surface?
We should have Carlos tell us stories about the priest. Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
I'm Protestant.
We're talking
How
about
did you get
Catholics
outside of Puerto Rico and not be Catholic? Am I clear on that? Like,
no,
there's,
you're
I thought
right.
so. Yeah.
So both sets of grandparents did grow up being Catholic, and they were very Catholic. And then my mom and my dad were the first to convert out of Catholicism into being Protestant. And so then from my dad...
Were they still in Puerto Rico when they did that?
Yeah. This was, my mom was 16 when that happened, maybe younger. And then my dad was 18. And then from my dad's side of the family, like the rest of the family followed kind of.
Oh, okay. So you never grew up going to Catholic church?
Never.
Oh. Well, as I said,
But
you
it
know,
is
having
very
Sister
Catholic.
Barbara, I've been to a lot of Catholic service, singing them. I still enjoy going to a Catholic service sometimes. Just, I love the ritual and tradition of it.
Same
Don't
with
understand
Crystal Cathedral.
half the same thing. Yeah. Well, yes, but that wasn't Catholic.
Well, that's what I mean. You sang at Catholic.
Oh, huh?
The Crystal Cathedral is a Catholic.
No, they're it's now the Catholic Diocese of Orange County, but when I was there,
Oh.
they were Dutch Reformed. Wow, we just got real specific on traditions and religions there, but funny story, my great Aunt Audrey, who was like a grandmother to me, lived in Louisville. I would go visit all the time. Never drank a day in her life that I'm aware of. Never cussed a day in her life. She was a great lady. School teacher growing up. Not growing up, she was a school teacher. Anyway, she loved to go to the fish fries at the Catholic church. And I did too, right? But, so they would have these fish fries on Friday night with bingo and the beer garden. And I was just always so sad that we did play bingo sometimes, but we never stayed to like, I mean, I was too young too, but it was like, it just seemed like the coolest thing. We're at church and they're drinking beer and playing bingo. She would also call them Catholics. And I'm like, why are you what are you licking? You know, when I was real little, I was like, what are you licking? She's like, they're Catholic. I'm like, why do you say it like that? She was a funny lady. So bad advice on my end is
Hold on your hair for the high notes.
And
What
no
did that
negative
make you
reinforcement.
then do in order to, like, functionally, what then would you do when your hair would get pulled to try to sing high notes?
Well, I think it just made me think higher and try harder, probably.
Yeah, so you're like forcing it more?
Yeah, but as a kid, I had a voice that could mimic those things and do things, you know? And so I feel sorry for the kid who couldn't. Just probably has no hair today.
Probably not.
What was yours?
Yeah. So one of them was to, there were a lot. I could rapid fire a few of them. My question usually to a coach was, how can I have this big crack and break in my voice? How do I fix it? And then how can I sing higher with power? And to both of those questions, I was told to sing more in my head voice and to sing from my diaphragm. And so I did more of both of those things and reinforced more of my problem as a result.
Okay.
So I think kind of to what you were just saying, like you naturally were able to sing high, so it wasn't that awful of an instruction to you. But for somebody like me who could not naturally get into a mix, I had to be taught how to do that. That advice or anything else similar in these kind of strange things, like raise your eyebrows, squeeze your butt cheeks. We talked about that. Squeeze your butt like a penny in between your cheeks. What is that doing?
Did you actually have to put a penny in there?
I mean, I never did, but people were told to think as if you needed to squeeze a penny in your cheeks.
One of my coaches had me do that. I made like $100 in 1 year.
Oh my gosh. You're a mess.
That was good. But bump. That's pure humor right there, people.
But if you don't
can't buy
naturally
that
have
in
a
Vegas.
skill, no, you.
But
well,
you can't play the
probably
penny
can.
slots.
Yeah. Now I'm questioning where those pennies have been.
In the penny slot.
Why do you think? Well, and to the point, why do you think pennies are brown?
Ew.
I'm on one today. What is in this tea?
Cracking yourself up. Too.
I'm in this tea. Did you see they're getting rid of the penny?
No.
It costs 2 to 3 cents to make a penny now, and so they're going to get rid of the penny. And now there's talk about maybe the nickel because it costs more to make the nickel than the nickel's worth.
Well, then what are you gonna do with all the leftover cents that things cost?
What do you mean?
Well, something cost like $1.27.
Okay, well here's a question
What are
first
you
of
gonna
all.
do?
When's the last time you paid with a penny?
I mean, I don't frequently, but if they give them to me in change, I'm like, what are you gonna? Is this person just not
Okay,
get
fair.
change?
Well, they're gonna they'll
Adjust the prices.
They'll adjust the prices.
It's just okay. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Okay, pivoting back.
Pivoting back to your
All of
brown
those different
pennies.
things that I was told usually made me manipulate in order to sing higher. And I think unless someone is naturally inclined to be able to either mimic a sound that they hear, or they just kind of can do that without needing to work hard for it, then sometimes this advice is less detrimental. But a lot of times I've actually seen this quite a bit in musical theater pedagogy realm, by and large, we've talked about this, in coaching there's not like a lot of standardization of pedagogy in classical or in musical theater world specifically. It's kind of a hodgepodge of things. And so like I've seen coaches that are really great singers and demonstrators of, for instance, musical theater, trying to teach other people, and their main approach in coaching is sing it like me. Make this noise like me. And yet if this person can't do it, they're sort of out of troubleshooting options, and maybe they then resort to those more strange, kind of vague visualization things like think high, look at the note up here, or whatever they might be, if someone's not already naturally inclined like they were to be able to sing higher, right? And so I think sometimes the overly visual aids or things that are just very ambiguous and kind of unrelated to the function of singing, like squeezing your butt cheeks, as an example, end up becoming a stumbling block to many singers who are not that naturally inclined to do something. They need something more functional, manual, tangible, tactile, that addresses the function of the voice more than their imagination. And so I think that's why there's some like bad advice out there, because it'll just make people end up doing weird stuff. If your advice is weird, then someone's going to do something weird.
That's probably pretty general truth to that, yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
I was also told to stand, I could stand and show you, like
against the wall.
Against the wall, but make sure that my head didn't come forward.
Yeah.
But my head was up against the wall like my shoulders were.
I think I had to do that.
The problem, theoretically, with somebody have perfect spinal alignment, that's great. That's not bad advice. But most of us have a significant degree of subluxation, which is the misalignment of your spine and your neck.
She
and so
says
for
subluxation, I'm talking about brown pennies. It's like we are two different people.
Yin and yang,
I don't even know what that
Jason
means.
But if my spinal alignment, which it was in college, was like my neck was pushing forward, I actually had, you're supposed to have a 45-degree C curve in your neck, like this, and mine was like positive 10 degrees instead of, or negative 10 degrees instead of positive 45, I guess is what it would be, which means my neck was actually technically moving forward, which meant that my good posture was still sort of lurching forward a little bit. So what I needed, more than pushing my neck against the wall because it made my voice sound like this, which made singing hard, right?
Yeah.
I needed to see a chiropractor.
Oh, wow.
And now I do.
Well, I think even, this is definitely up for debate, but it's rare I have a singer stand up and sing today.
I kind of 50-50 on it.
Are you 50-50?
If they're singing, it really depends on what we're working on. If it's just doing like vocal exercises, no.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean.
Sit, bro.
Like when they get up to do their thing,
yeah,
do what you want to do. If you want to stand up, move around.
Yeah.
Obviously, to learn to hit bigger notes, things like that, typically I have them doing things standing.
Yeah.
But I'll also have them do it sitting, because you should be able to sit and do it, stand and do it, stand on your hand and do it. Whatever.
Right, yeah.
Like that, the reality of once your voice is, developed and you know how to release these tones, you should be able to literally be like Pink and swing upside down and do it. So,
totally. Great. Yes, great example.
So
and
all these things.
That's bad advice to tell somebody that you have to stand up and
that
sing.
was what I was getting to, right?
Yeah.
It's like growing up, I was definitely taught that by and large.
Yeah.
But a lot of these things I think come from old school pedagogy of bel canto, and instructors are just teaching based on what they were taught and what they were taught. That's what we teach a lot on, how we were taught. A little bit from probably our early day coaches who were very formative in our growing up life. But a lot of our coaching comes from, our mentor and the techniques and the tricks of the trade and all that we learned from him, that were passed down to him. They just happen to be really great and effective, and that's why they work.
And so much of the bedrock of that coordination pedagogy is that it's super relaxed.
Yes.
You should be very relaxed when you're singing.
Yes.
And so
it should look effortless, and it should feel
it's like
effortless.
You're speaking, right? And so what are we doing? We're sitting down talking. I don't have to stand to talk, so why should I have to stand to sing? And I remember
exactly
one of the biggest things that kind of blew my mind was when I first observed our mentor Brett teach for the first time, I was just sitting in the background observing. Sat in on a session. This is before I started my training. He like invited me to come observe because I was considering doing it, and I'd never seen him do it before. In fact, I had met him that day, and he had a girl in a session. No idea who it was, but he had a girl in a session who not only was sitting, but she was in a swivel chair. And she was kind of sitting like this, like with her legs kind of crossed up, like hugging her knees and swinging around and singing like crazy stuff. And I was like, whoa. It messed with my preconceived notions of what singing had to be, because she didn't need to be in like perfect singer posture.
Yeah.
And again, it's not to say you shouldn't have good posture. You totally should have good posture.
In general health.
Yeah. The point though is that you don't have to stand to sing well.
No.
And
again,
it's
that comes
all about
from classical style of singing, the proper, it's the same thing as like, you have a dog, your dog just walks around being a dog, but when it's a show dog, there is a definite like temperament to its posture that it gets trained to do.
Yeah. And you do have to stand to sing most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
Sometimes you can sit
Unless
on
you
a
don't have
stool or
legs.
whatever. Or like Lieutenant Dan,
I mean, it's a real thing.
Some people can't. But
it's a real thing.
honestly, I just saw a Forrest Gump clip on Instagram
He
right
died
before we
last
did
year,
this.
didn't he?
Lieutenant Dan?
Yeah.
What's
Didn't he
his name?
die?
What that
Gary
actor's name?
Sinise?
Oh, maybe
died?
not. No, he didn't die.
This is alive and well.
Okay, sorry about that.
Or anybody who is handicapped, right?
Yes.
Can't stand up. So that all, okay, great example.
Handy capable. That's what my friends
Where are you
like to
laughing
say.
He thought Gary Sinise died.
I don't know why I thought that. He just died in the movie.
Okay, but our friend and colleague, maybe that's what it was. Our friend and colleague Ben Waits,
Yes.
phenomenal singer, and is bound to a chair.
Yes.
And he is one of the best singers I've ever heard.
I know. His voice is insane. Ben
You don't
Waits.
need to stand to sing well.
You all should Google some Ben Waits.
Yeah,
because
he's so good.
He will bring a tear to your eye. He will bring inspiration to your soul.
And he will leave you without any excuse.
Wow, Ben, you should quote everything we just said and put it on T-shirts because it's true. It's
Singing
true.
Ben's praises. Ben's such a good guy.
Yeah, he's such
I
a
love
good guy. He's such a joy and a light. But
And his wife.
It's
She's
remarkable to see him have so much tone and presence and resonance. And not only is he, in a wheelchair, but he's also a small stature. He's not like a big guy. And it's, that was all of that pointing to the reality. Carlos was talking earlier today about this, just helping people open up and make sounds.
Yeah.
That is probably one of the best things you can do.
Yeah.
I get it. I've had my own little things of trickery to help people think a little differently because
Totally.
You can see if someone's like thinking that the notes are going higher and they are raising their forehead and their eyebrows and lifting. You have to help them think in a world of opposites.
Right. And what is that Carlos kept saying earlier? What is it missing when people are like, it has to be like this? It's missing nuance.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, I can hear already somebody maybe in the comment section like, but you have to stand to sing, so you have to practice the way you perform. Yes, of course you do. This lacks nuance, right? We're saying that you need to have a better, deeper connection to your own voice and technique to know exactly what needs to be troubleshot at that moment, right? And if you can only sing standing up, what does that tell you about nuance? Like there's not a lot of flexibility
Or
that.
variation.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, when it comes to all sorts of things that we could talk about, some little tricks might help one person, but they're not a one-size-fits-all from everybody's mindset. And you do have to kind of figure that out, and it's our job to sort of read in between the lines and see what somebody's really struggling with to diagnose appropriately to the person.
Totally, and that's why it's important from our perspective of the scenario to be more in tune with that person than we are with ourselves or what we're trying to coach or what we're trying to get apart. Like we really have to clue in with that person on any given day because it can be different on a day. Because at the end of it, we're trying to find these subtle nuances in a completely abstract environment.
Yeah.
Right? There's subtle little sensations and feelings that we'll talk about and people will experience. But singing, one of the greatest things I ever figured out and was taught and told was it should be as easy as walking or talking. And the reality is it's not always that easy for everyone. Fair. It shouldn't be, especially
because of all the obstacles that they have.
Yes. Well, and I'll go one step further. If you are a natural singer, like Carlos was, I was, you're saying you weren't.
I was a natural singer. I was not a natural mixer.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But if you just grew up as a kid who just could always sing any kind of song and make your voice fit into it, that's a rare small percentage. But even those people have to still go deeper into these nuances to really understand their true authentic voice.
Yeah.
And really find what I'm talking about here, which is make it look and feel as easy as walking.
Right.
And to that point, some days, I don't want to walk to the gym because I'm tired or whatever. Some days you don't feel like singing or it takes a little more energy.
Yeah.
But we overcomplicate all this stuff. And I think it's happened, not for a curveball, but I'm going to throw it in here. I think it's happened in our modern realm of coaching and singing because coaching itself has become really profitable for a lot of people. And because of that, there's a lot of spins of different curveballs to be like, this is the right way. Try this. You have to do this. My way is right.
Because that thumbnail will get views and clicks, right? If it's like the biggest hack for singing or the biggest lie about singing or whatever. And it's like, ooh, what is it? Tell me. Because we're all looking for like, what's the one thing I'm missing? And it's more nuanced than that. But I've got another bad advice piece.
Well, do you know what the biggest lie is in singing?
What is it?
Carlos is a great singer.
That is...
I had to throw him under the bus once.
Carlos is phenomenal. And we can say...
that's a better truth.
Carlos is on a pretty cool television show at the moment.
Oh, that's right.
I can't say that out loud.
We can't talk about it.
We can't talk about it yet.
But we can say it.
We will eventually. It's coming.
Yeah.
But he's on The Voice. Yeah. And Carlos can edit that out if I'm not supposed to say it.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Because he is a freaking absurdly talented singer. Okay, anyway, bad advice. I was told and had to do this in voice lessons in college where I would have like a piece of paper or a tissue and I'd have to like put it on the wall and hold it to the wall by blowing air.
Oh, I think I had to do that one time too.
To train breathing or whatever. And so I was like going, trying to keep a tissue stuck to the wall or whatever, as if that was teaching me something really brilliant about breathing and singing. And I would say to that,
poppycock.
Poppycock. Gotta bring that back, yeah. Terrible advice. And the reason for that is it incorporates way too much, ultimately subglottal pressure when you're using that much like forceful airflow to come up through your voice. Also, it's inefficient. So you're using way more air than you ever need for any given note. And makes you run out of air, which only then reinforces the I have a breathing problem myth that singers are constantly saying. Because it's this cycle that you get on. You use too much air, so you run out of it too fast, so then you have to take another big breath, and then you run out of air because your cords aren't efficiently closing and sealing up. So that was bad advice right there. I don't know what in the world it helped me do better, other than think way too hard about breathing while I'm singing.
Yeah,
which honestly, a lot of breathing instruction is bad advice. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. A lot of it. For everything I just said.
Well, I agree.
It makes us think too hard about something that's very innate and natural to all of us.
I always say I don't have to tell you how to breathe.
Yeah, you want a medal? Good job. You're great at breathing.
Yeah.
Here's a trophy.
Yeah, it's probably one of the rarest things that I help any of my artists do is ever, there will be issues where people breathe too much and we have to find more proper coordination and learn how to close that stuff up. But it's rare I'm having to help someone figure out how to get enough air in there to how do I even help them know how to do that?
You know what I find
That's
is
how
it's
I always
not
go
that
back
they're
to.
not using enough air, it's that some singers don't sing with nearly enough energy.
Yes.
And it's a supply and demand thing, right? So if I'm singing kind of lazy and I don't have a lot of energy and mojo behind anything, then I will run out of air because I'm kind of just taking this little flimsy breath, but I'm a singer-songwriter and I put 1,000 words in one phrase before I have a chance to breathe again and I can't get through it. Well, it's also falling behind the beat because you don't have enough energy and momentum behind it. So it's like, what is one tool to help re-energize the voice in song is taking a bigger breath. Yeah, it'll give us a little bit of a to get it going.
Yeah.
But that's usually one of the only contexts that it ever comes up in. But it's less that they're like terrible at breathing or that's the sole focus. It can be one of the target like diagnostic tools, but it's more that they're just singing without any life, any energy. So,
yeah.
Any more bad advice?
I mean, I have so much bad advice for people, but I tend to keep that to myself because it usually means...
No, the whole point of this episode is to tell everybody the bad advice. What's bad advice?
Oh, I thought you meant, do I have some bad advice to give to people? That's how you were tying this thing up.
Why would you have bad advice?
That's what I'm saying. I don't.
You're
really,
a wise old sage.
I don't really do that to people. I try to give them.
Now, what
beams
is
of hope
what's something
and
else
joy.
terrible that you were told or somebody has told you that they were told?
You know what? It's really weird that I'm stumped because I don't really think about it that often.
I got another one.
Well, I mean, I really do think personally, and this is up for debate, and it will probably get some hate.
Ooh,
push
I like
more.
That's the bad advice.
That's bad advice.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of
Definitely say
coaches,
push more.
a lot of coaches and teachers and even just friends. I've heard casual conversations of people in a band just talking to the singer. No, push more right there, man. Push on that. Mm-hmm. That's the last thing you want to think about with your voice is pushing on it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Humbly. But there are a lot of people who teach that way.
Yeah. It's bad advice.
The true, I think you'd agree with this. That is the true, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Antithesis.
Yes, behind a belt.
Yeah.
If you don't naturally know how to belt, I did as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it did not mess me up when my coaches were telling me to push harder on something. And I did have a couple that did do that.
Because you were mixing.
Because I was naturally knew how to like mix or cover how whatever terms you want to throw out there on these things.
Yeah.
I knew how to, let's simplify it a bit. I knew how to wrap my voice around the sound I was trying to make.
Yeah.
Was it tricky at times trying to find it? Yes. And we would modify how I was saying the word or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of people get messed up because they get told to push on their voices and it causes the overcompression
Exactly.
and strain and
Pulling
it gets
up
in your
chest.
head. And when that gets in your head and it gets into your actually how the brain and the muscle function together, it's the hardest thing to get rid of because it's one thing you never forget.
Yeah, well, it reinforces what you're already doing, right? So if what you were already doing was partly, at least to a degree, correct, because you were kind of mixing, then pushing told you to just lean more into that release and it amplified your sound. Whereas if somebody else was not mixing, they were already in a purely chest sound and they can't reach the note, then pushing makes them reinforce more of that. They just double down on more chest.
Yeah.
As Brett would say, you're pulling up chest, and that's that shouting sound that just gets strained and very, very difficult.
Totally.
Can hurt your voice and all that.
And I kind of throw this out here too, casually in sessions, like, and it's a huge generalization for sure, but by and large, most guys will do that because it feels like something. And when you're trying to...
we like to have control and feel that.
Most girls don't, right?
I feel like it's 50-50 with
they'll
girls,
lay back.
But I get what
okay,
you
maybe
mean.
it's 50-50. You would know that better, right?
And I think part of the reason behind that is because men have 2/3 of their voice is comprised of chest and 1/3 is head. Females are the opposite. We have 1/3 of our voice is chest voice, 2/3 of our range is head.
Exactly. So there's
more of
there's like a
tendency to push on chest.
which is natural to the gender.
Yeah.
But psychologically and physically is what we're saying, right? And so, but yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the greatest things you and I both help artists let go of is pushing too much on their vocal or just working too hard to get something to come out.
In the voice.
This stuff's supposed to be easy, you guys.
I've got another one that I'm
supposed
sure
to be
you
easy.
have not been. I'm sure that you've not been told, but this is definitely more of a woman thing.
Okay.
Bad advice. I had a
Sing with your hoo-hoo?
Yes.
I've heard someone say that.
Well, it has to.
with your
No, it
hoo-hoo.
wasn't sing with that. It had something to do with it, though. I have a student who told me that one of her old teachers told her to just not sing at all when she was on her monthly cycle.
Why?
Because
Everything's imbalanced?
everything's bad. Like your hormones. And here's the, with all lies or just bad advice, there's usually a shred of truth in there somewhere that was just like extrapolated to the nth degree. And so what's true about the forewarning of singing during your cycle is that your body is dealing with more inflammation at that time of the month.
Okay.
So there is more inflammation going on, and because of like hormone stuff. And so it can make some types of singing, maybe mix, maybe belt, whatever, a little bit more difficult.
That's fair. Never thought about that. That's fascinating.
It can be a little bit more difficult. However, this is where nuance matters. Every woman is different.
Yeah, of
because
course.
my hormonal balance or imbalance is grossly different from the lady next to me, depending on my age. I'm perimenopausal, if you're interested in knowing. My functional doctor was like, very nicely told me that my ovaries were dying. I was like, oh, thanks. That's so kind of you to share. Anyway,
you should put a patch on them.
I have a patch on today.
I know, but you should patch your ovaries. Can you do that?
I have the antioxidant patch on.
Oh, wow,
anyway,
nice.
Is there a patch for that?
For
ladies and
yeah.
their cycles?
Yeah.
You can tell me about that later. Anyway.
And you do put it right on your ovaries.
Oh.
Yeah, outside, obviously.
Interesting. People are like, what are you talking
about? We'll talk about patches in another
episode.
In another episode. We should sometime.
Anyway, I think because everybody's hormonal balance is very, very different, then for one woman, it might be a little bit more tumultuous singing at that time of the month certain types of songs than it will be for another woman. That's based off of their hormones, that's based off of their age, and so on and so forth. But the advice that was given was don't sing when you're on your cycle.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm like, that's so dumb.
That is so crazy.
That's bad advice.
Yeah.
You should be able to sing at any point
Any
in time.
point in time.
You know, even not...
Unless you physically can't get out of bed.
Right, yeah.
But then
so
maybe you should still sing.
It's like, does that mean that any athlete
gosh.
shouldn't train when they're on... A female athlete is not, it's that time of the month. Now, is there nuance to how you should train physically based off of like the luteal phase that you're in? And this is getting very woman focused here, because every week out of your monthly cycle is a different hormonal phase for a female, right? And so I know of a female trainer who trains more according to the phase of your cycle. And it's like, this time of the month, don't do quite as much HIIT. Or this time of the month, do more lifting, and it has to do with your cycle. That's using nuance. Yeah. Right? It's not blanket
it's also just
statement,
being in
something
tune with
like
your
don't
body.
sing when you're on your period. That's stupid.
It's also being in tune with your body.
Absolutely.
Which you need to be every day as a singer.
Yeah, yeah. I need to check in on my voice every day.
Totally, same. And we do. We have to. And if it doesn't feel like doing something, I'm not going to force it to it. Unless it's a rare occasion, I have to. Right. But that's a whole different story.
Because if your voice is giving you like 60%, you don't need to demand it gives you 61.
Yeah, no.
You take that 60% and you use that. And then you'll end up getting more out of it anyway.
100%.
Isn't that a fun one? That's bad advice.
Yeah, Carlos gave me some bad advice one time. He said that women should not leave their houses when they're on their period. I told him never say that in public.
To my wife,
but
I would not say that ever.
Hey, we got to wrap this. One little sweet story here on the way out, though. I thought of a second when you were talking about always being able to sing, and I made the comment, unless you're in bed, can't get out of bed. And I saw on TV the other day this sweet little story of this couple. They've been married, I want to say like it was 60-something years. And every day since a long time ago, I forget what time period it was, he sang a song to her before she went to bed every night. Aww. Just a little snippet of like a Sinatra song or something. Aww. And she's now in a nursing home, and he still goes. They both might be in a nursing home, but they're not physically in the same room anymore. Mm-hmm. And he still goes and sings her a little song, and they showed him doing it, and I just lost it. It was like the coolest, sweetest little story.
Tanner, you listening?
Yeah. Hey, everyone out there, love each other. Just take the stress off. Don't listen to bad advice, and just open up and let these nuances.
And if you know of bad advice that we didn't say,
let us know.
Tell us what we missed.
Yes. Yep. Until next time, this is it. Thanks for tuning in to the Vocal Lab podcast. Ready to join the top ranks of the music industry? Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more first-class conversations that make the extraordinary your new ordinary. Until next time, keep striving for your top note.